This video is brought to you by Devout Decals, makers of reusable Catholic art for your home altar, your bedroom, and your home classroom.
Sometimes people ask for good news in this fight for the church. And so we have some good news today, although it doesn't have all that much to do with the church. But the church did play a role in our good news, which comes to us out of Ireland. In Ireland, like everywhere else in the Western world, the secular authorities have been pushing hard to rewrite the laws of reality. They deny fundamental basic truths that have been part of the fabric of human civilization for 2,000 years, longer than that, since, as the faith tells us, some of the basic truths of life, the laws of God, are written on the hearts of all men. This is why you see some pretty basic values in various civilizations across the world before they ever knew Christ. The laws of God were written on their hearts too, at least in some degree. And it takes the faith to really bring that out, to help perfect it. But these values have been essentially subject to rewriting, revision, and removal from our formal governing documents, from the classroom, from anything really, from even social discourse, relegated for now to the private sphere. People are waking up to this, and a country that has been kind of the bellwether for how bad things are probably getting said no to their latest attempts. This is good news. In Ireland, on International Women's Day, that was March 8th, the day that when I live streamed that morning, I reminded you was actually on an old liturgical calendar, the Feast of Our Lady of Virtues, a much better day to be observing, in my mind. The people of Ireland were given two referenda, if you want to call them that, or ballot measures to sort of decide upon. One is, they were both having to do with the family, the way the family is seen in the eyes of the law, and the other would have had the effect of removing the word woman from the actual legal lexicon, among other things, or so it's been reported. So we go to Catholic News Agency for this headline. Irish voters keep motherhood, traditional family, in the Constitution. That's actually more than my country has in its Constitution. We don't have either of those things in our Constitution. Just remember, the United States is not founded to have our government and our founding documents were never envisioned to have the government involved in the private sphere. State governments often did that themselves, and some state governments in the U.S. have some of this kind of language in their documents, but the central government was initially envisioned to be sort of a distant referee on things the states were doing. We don't have such protections in our Constitution now, even though the nature of the government and its role in society has changed rather dramatically, especially since 1865. But now, the Irish, though, have said no to the whims of revolutionaries who they have allowed to control their government for several decades. Will this make up for their embrace of the Moloch ritual? No, but perhaps it's a sign that they've seen the consequences of their embracing the Moloch ritual, allowing it to be legal in their country, which had been barred by their constitution previously. Perhaps they're seeing the consequences of that, and they've had enough. Because they tell us a slippery slope is a fallacy, and in some cases it is. It can be used fallaciously. But we've all seen that the slippery slope is very real. One evil begets another, and another, and another. Basic Catholicism teaches us this. What happens when you engage in some kind of mortal sin? Others often follow if you don't get to confession quickly and get right with God. Your moral compass becomes broken at that point. Or your resistance to sinful inclinations withers away, and one sin becomes another, and another, and another. So too is it seems, in the world of politics. Let's get some facts from the article. Quote, By wide margins, voters in Ireland rejected proposed changes to the country's constitution that would have broadened the definition of family and removed language about the social value of women within the home. Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar said Saturday that voters had delivered 2 wallops to the government, which pushed for a yes vote on a pair of March 8th referendums. Clearly, we got it wrong, he said. While the old adage is that success has many fathers and failure is an orphan, I think when you lose by this kind of margin, there are a lot of people who got this wrong, and I'm certainly one of them. Nearly 68% of voters rejected the so-called Family Amendment, which would have removed a clause about the importance of marriage and family to society from Ireland's 1937 Constitution and legally redefined family as either, quote, founded on marriage or on other durable relationships. The proposed Kerr Amendment would have removed a clause noting that the, quote, state recognizes that by her life within the home, woman gives to the state a support without which the common good cannot be achieved. Proved even more unpopular, drawing a no vote from just under 74% of voters, end quote. So they protected the legal protections. They kept the legal protections regarding essentially traditional roles. It's remarkable. It really is in the modern world. I'm trying to use the word remarkable less often, but this is truly something that is worth remarking upon, and we should thank God for it. Maybe things are beginning to turn around in Ireland. But again, if you've been paying attention, especially to the international world of politics for the last now almost decade, things are moving against the whims of those who have power. They really are in a lot of ways. You saw that in England in 2016. You saw this now in this statement, and you've seen this in a lot of other kinds of contests going on. I don't usually comment on secular politics here, but this is one of those where the political movement actually intersects directly with our faith. This is a holdover of that Catholic faith in Ireland. The influence of it is still there. And on this issue, the bishops were on the right side. They begged the voters to not do these things, to not embrace these new changes, as did a lot of the more conservative political actors in Ireland. And the voters listened. They agreed with them. That's a good thing. Back to the article, quote, Ireland's leading political parties and other influential groups strongly backed the well-funded referendum initiative, while some conservative groups in the country's Catholic bishops urged a no vote on both measures. This decision by the Irish electorate sends a powerful message about the importance of preserving foundational values in the face of sweeping societal changes, Family Solidarity, an Irish conservative advocacy group that opposed the constitutional language changes, said in a statement Saturday. This victory is not just a rejection of a specific referendum proposal. It is a declaration by the people of Ireland that the core unit of society, the family based on marriage, must remain protected and cherished. It underscores a collective desire to maintain the integrity of societal values that have long been the bedrock of our nation. Critics of the amendments argued that the bill, the vote for which took place on International Women's Day, ironically erased terms like women and mother from the Constitution, while also causing confusion about the meaning behind a durable relationship. The Kerr Amendment also would have removed an article of the Irish Constitution that said, the state shall therefore endeavor to ensure that mothers shall not be obliged by economic necessity to engage in labor to the neglect of their duties in the home. These clauses would have been replaced by an article noting that the state will strive to support the care that members of a family give to one another, without which the common good cannot be achieved. The people of Ireland have spoken and given this government and the parties in opposition a walloping, Sharon Keoghan, an independent Irish senator, posted on X, formerly Twitter, end quote. There is something ironic about them wanting to erase certain words on International Women's Day from their constitution. In kind of to use a colloquialism, it's kind of the biggest self-own you'll ever see. Sort of an own goal, to borrow a term from soccer or football. Putting a vote like this on International Women's Day when you are literally erasing words like women and mother from the Constitution is really actually unintentionally funny. It really is. It means and shows just how tone deaf they are to their own movement. So thank God for this victory for common sense in Ireland, and may there be more of these in other places, including my own country, later this year. All Are you in Ireland watching this? Well, let me know what the sort of tone and tenor was leading up to this. Was it obvious that this thing was going to go down in flames from the perspective of a normal person who was in touch with reality? Because one of the things we're seeing here in the real world is that normal people have a much better grasp of reality than our elites and those who hang on their every words do. That's becoming more and more apparent because those of us rooted in reality have to deal with the consequences of this stuff every single day when we go out in public or try to go to work or find a job or feed our families, whether we're talking about the state of currencies or we're talking about things being pushed on us from media outlets. Whatever those are, we have a much greater rooting in reality. And that's becoming obvious at this point. And I'd like to really think that Catholicism, our Catholic faith, has, at least for us, the Catholic world, has a lot to do with our being rooted in reality on this issue and so many others, regardless where you might stand on church politics on any other issue. Let me know in the comments if you're in Ireland and you were watching this and what it was like being on the ground and seeing how people in the real world were talking about this, whether the real world is, face-to-face interactions or in social media, where how normal people were reacting to this before it happened, if you kind of knew it was going to play out this way, because I'm very curious. And are you surprised that their officials acknowledged reality that they were not only wrong, but very, very wrong, until the voters got something right? I'd like to get a little bit more of that in my own country, too. Let me know what you thought of that, though, in all the comments, please, and hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help, so does sharing this on social media. That helps, too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.